Hi, it's Megan. So this is part of a two-part video, which is a get ready with me, and I wanted to break it up just because, I don't know, not everyone would want to see everything, and then I also didn't want it to be too long. I tend not to edit out a lot of things just because I tend to need to watch them in great detail, so I tend to make my videos that way too. So the first part was on the face makeup from like the ground up with nothing. So right now I already have a little highlighter, I have I only use a tiny bit of contour, foundation, and lipstick. And so what I have on is I have and this, by the way, I should have said at the beginning, is a video for doing a Berrry eye tutorial, which I promised a long time ago. So I have the NARS Impassioned Blush on, and I have this because, and this is limited edition, but this is a great blush that has kind of a pinky lilac lavender kind of look. So since we're doing berries on the eyes, and by berries I mean pinks, reds, and purples essentially, we're getting those undertones. And it looks like nothing in the pan. It's actually really pretty on. I'm just gonna put a little bit more on so you can, I already took that brush out of my little arsenal here because I can only fit so much in my arsenal, and foundation stuff took a lot of space. So it's going to give me the right kind of glow that I want with the kind of eye colors I'm using. And then on my lips, I have another NARS limited edition, which is Rose Cliff. And the reason I picked this one, and you don't have to use these shades, these just happen to be my two most favorite shades right now. I use this one because it's a pink based nude, and since I'm going to really be building up the colors on my eyes, I wanted really subtle, almost matte or satin mattes here on my cheeks and my lips so that the eyes really shined. But if you want to really kick it up a notch, you can do a purple, you can do a gloss, you can even do a red, and just on your lips just to like do a wow kind of factor with the shades. And so I'm just looking for my eye pencil. So now we're going to do the berry eyes, and since I just did a purple, and I'm just looking for my eye pencil, and I'm just getting increasingly uncomfortable because I don't see it here. There it is. Freak out over the smallest things. I just did the red and purple eye look, so I'm not going to do the red in this one, but I'm using the Saucebox Forbidden Fruits. But again, oh, my cats have been like all over the videos today. The last video I had Kit Kat, now Mo's going to come for this one. This is the Forbidden Fruits palette. He's like licking my hair. And when I did the review for this, I used this shade and this shade, and these three right here are super subtle compared to these three over here as you wear them. So it's just kind of a question of how wow you want your look to be. And I did a super wow one yesterday. I think I'm going to do a slightly less wow one today. I'm just going to mute it a little bit. It's going to be the same thing. I'm just going to add a little bit more white. So I've got a black pencil, and then I've also got a white eyeshadow. What I do differently from I think everybody on YouTube that I've ever seen is everyone adds the black on the upper waterline last. I do it first, and the reason why is because I like to see, I like the black when I'm doing anything that's got a red or a pink or sometimes even an orange base to it, and sometimes purples can have sort of a pink undertone to it, just because if I don't have a little bit of black, I end up getting that rabbit eye thing where my eyes just look pink. I look just not good. Scary. I was coming up with all kinds of bad words that were worse than rabbit, but I just decided to let them go. Crack-ho, drug addict, all kinds of zombie. So I'm just putting a little black. This is Black Ebony, Lancome Coal, and this is one of my favorites because it's soft and smudgy. It doesn't smear though. It wears really well. It applies beautifully. So that's going on the upper waterline. And this to me just really defines the eye. A lot of times this one step makes a huge difference in how makeup looks on me. And we're going to add more black later. Then I have a Makeup Forever white, and this is the old one. This is 0. This is the old formula, so this is not available, but I'm still using it. Now I'm just going to take a fluffy brush. This is the Hourglass crease brush, but I'm just picking from, no, it's a MAC 217. Oops. But I have them, the one there. Any soft brush, any larger eyeshadow brush works for this. I'm just applying a tiny, tiny bit of white. Again, I like to do these first, where a lot of people do them last, because for me it just kind of defines. And we'll do more white later. Then I'm going to use a tiny little brush that I don't have a name for. This was called a smoky eye brush on Sephora's site, but it's no longer available. I've seen a couple super expensive dupes, but I think most like big brush sets are going to have one. Just a little pointy. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take this light pink shade, which is Tutu, and I'm going to apply it as like a little liner in the inner corner of the eye. And what I'm trying to do here is I'm going to do light, darker, darkest. Sometimes you can do medium, light, and dark, but I'm going to graduate them. I'm not sure which word is actually the right one grammatically when it comes to makeup. Who in our grammar books is doing makeup talk? And then I'm going to put it in like the little tiny corner of the eye. This is probably, I would say, I don't know, 1/10 of the eye in. And this shade has a little shimmer in it. So when you put a little shimmer on a light shade, it's going to totally open up your eye. What I don't like to do is put too shimmery or too heavy of a shimmery, because I do very shimmery in the inner eye, because then it can look a little artificial. Then you just need to put a light, if it's super shimmery, you just need to put a light little tiny bit. And now we're going to start packing on. One thing I did yesterday that I was really happy with, which I hadn't planned on doing, is that I did 2 different colors on 2 different eyes. So originally I planned to do this, and then I decided to do this one too. So we're not going to do the red because we did that in the other. If you look at how bright this pink is, that wasn't even a good swatch, so it wasn't a fair one. It's really bright. And then this purple is similar. It's a little bit more subtle. So we're going to do a little bit of the pink and a little bit of the purple. When I looked at the video, so the sound got destroyed. I didn't like how bright it was on my eyes as much as I thought I did when I made the video. So I'm going to dip my brush into the white first, and then into this pink. And if you have this palette, this is Forget Me Not. And I'm using the Hourglass crease brush. What I did yesterday, and what I usually do, is I use a smaller, finer brush. We're going to do that on the other side, which is these little round eyeshadow brushes. And that's because I'm biased on the brushes that I use. I like smaller brushes because I feel like I have more control over where I apply the product. Okay, so this might not actually be the best brush for this, but I wanted to mute it today. So maybe it is. So with a lighter brush that's not as finely packed and as dense, you get a lighter coverage, and I actually like it better. Yesterday it was super bright, but I actually like this better. And I'm not using an eyeshadow primer with this particular palette. Of all the Saucebox shadows that I've used, I think this one doesn't wear as well as the others, just in part because the shades are so bright, and when you're doing such bright shades, it's just harder for them to last, honestly. And I'm not doing an eyeshadow primer because when I do an eyeshadow primer, I've got dry skin. It tends to soak in whatever product I'm using, and it's just too bright. So we had to take a forced break because my card was full. So yesterday, as I was saying before it signed off, and I don't remember what I finished, I had used this shade Flat On, and it was very, very bright. But I like it better dotted in a little bit of white first, and then softened with the white. And so you can mix in white if any of the shades are a little bit too bright for you. You can mix in white to make it a little bit more muted. Now this is my new favorite eyeshadow brush. I got this in a set. It's this Stila 33. I just love it. I think it's great. Again, it's a little round brush so that I can apply a little bit more precisely. And so now we're going to use the Berry Me on the other side. And I'm going to dip in the white again just because I'm liking that yesterday I really liked the look that I created, but it was super bright. And so this Berry Me is similar to the pink shade, but it's got a little bit more purple in it, and it's a little bit more muted. You can use any. And so we had the little bit in the corner of the lighter shade. Now we're going to put the brighter, darker shade. And then I'm going to take this same brush and I'm going to use it to very softly dot the purple into the lower lash line. I don't like hard lines on me. They do not work. And I feel like a lot of times with these more pigmented, brighter, more dramatic looks, you really need to focus on building up under the eye almost more than on the upper eye to kind of balance out the look. And so I'm going to take a flat pointed eyeshadow brush and I'm going to do this with the pink here. And so what I'm doing is I'm going almost all the way in. So remember, we have that lighter color in here. I'm going almost all the way in. The lighter color is probably going, say, a sixth of the way in. And then the pink is going in after that. And I'm going to blend a little of the lighter pink because this is such a vibrant pink. And I'm going to start, the brush is mixing both shades so that they're already naturally a little bit blended. But I'm going to blend a little bit of that lighter color in just to soften it. And here you can use a black or purple eyeliner in the lower waterline if you think this is too pink for you or if you like that look. I've tried using purple on the upper waterline and the lower waterline with these types of shades, and on me it's still a little bit too pink regardless of what purple I use. So I prefer using the black, and with the Lancome just a tiny little gray is going to bleed down into my lower eye. But for the most case I don't think it has a negative impact on those with contact lenses. So this, as you see, these shades are going slightly into the crease here. And I'm going to put a little bit more of this lighter shade again up and into the crease. And then comes the fun part. And then I'm going to blend. So I'm taking this small little eyeshadow brush and I'm taking that lighter shade and I'm blending it in so that you get kind of a gradation of the shades. Now I'm going to take this darker purple. You can use a lighter purple too, but I'm going to take the darker one. I'm taking this flat brush and I'm also going to use this stiller brush. I'm going to use both. So I'm going to take the flat brush first and I'm going to put it in the outer corner. Now I have slightly watery eyes on the outer corner, not in the inner corner, not underneath, just in the outer corner. So I have a really hard time getting eyeshadows to apply super evenly as my eyes start to water. And so I have to go back in again. So I'm going to dot on just kind of like a rough little line here, and you'll see what I do. I'm going to dot on the darker color. It's going to look blotchy, which is what it is, because I'm just dotting it on. It's going to be blended, which is why I just want to get a certain amount, but not too much. Now I'm going to take this softer brush, this round one, very gently dip it into that dark purple because it's a very vibrant one. And now I'm widening the purple so it goes thinner, lighter, and thicker to darker. So thinner to thicker, darker, lighter to darker. And it's going to be a mess for a minute. Just let it be a mess. Just embrace the mess. Because I want to apply it, and then once I've applied it, I'm going to blend it. And so now I'm going to take the round brush again and take it into the crease, going lighter as it gets into the inner part of the eye. And since we already had applied the dotted liner, we had kind of a guide. And then I'm going to take my little finger, because I use my finger a lot. And sometimes people complain, don't use your finger. I use my finger. And when you go to conventions with makeup artists, they use their fingers. Doesn't mean you have to, it just means some people do. Okay, so now this is not going to be perfectly blended because I am not one of those who can perfectly blend on camera. Then I'm going to use a wide, loose eyeshadow brush. I used to use these brushes to apply eyeshadow. I no longer do. I now use them to blend. And I like it super blended, so you'll see me blending away the dark. If you want a super dramatic look, you can build this up over a white base, like those Milk NYX NYX Milk pencils or even a black, and it's gorgeous. It'll pop like those black creams. MAC does a lot of them. NARS has them. Maybelline has them. L'Oreal. I like mine a little bit more natural looking. And so I'm going to apply just a little bit more of the, and you can really build up the darker purple if you want it to be smoky. I tend to keep the lighter shade on most of my lid, but my daughter has almond shaped eyes, and with her eyes it actually looks better if you build up the darker purple about 1/3 to 1/4 of a way in on the outside. So you can see this one's a little bit pinker, brighter, and this one has a little bit more of a muted look. Now, I would not actually do this because I like the more muted look. So we've taken these super bright shadows, and I actually do like it better today by just mixing in a little bit more white. I like it better than what I did yesterday, so maybe it was best. I'm going to take this white, this big brush again, and just put a little bit of white and blend the edges and add a little bit more highlight under. Then I'm going to go back to, everything moved when I had to go and deal with my full card. I'm going to take my black liner again. I'm going to put a little bit more in the upper waterline, and then I'm going to line very gently. You can use a black liner, or you can use black eyeshadow. And I put a little bit in the outer corner too, especially with colors like this. And we're not done, by the way. I tend to be really obsessive about little details, so we're going to get to that in a minute. But I'm going to put this little black. And I've seen a couple people on YouTube comment that their pet peeve is that the two blacks don't meet. The black that's going, this is kind of tight lining, it's going into your lashes, and it should meet the black in your upper waterline so you don't have like a skin tone color between the two, and I agree with that. Now I'm applying this a little bit patchy, and then I'm taking a tiny, tiny, tiny little eyeshadow brush and blending it because I don't like hard lines on me. I think I said that at the beginning of the video. So I'm going to blend it, and then I'm going to even it out, and it has to go all the way in so that you don't have like a light little white thing or a lack of eyeliner right in your inner corner, which is really tempting somehow. And I'm mostly putting this brush in my eye, not in the eyeshadow for some reason today. That's okay, it's just my eye. And then, so there we have it. Now this is where I get obsessive. I'm going to take my little brush, and I'm going to take my little purple, and I'm going to put this in the outer corner again. And this is partially just because I've learned that with my bleeding eyes that bleed that little tear thing, I want to have that little extra coverage in the outer corner. Now I'm going to take again this smaller one and just, I only put a tiny bit of purple, but I'm now blending with the finer brush after having blended with the bigger brush. And I'm touching up whatever I think doesn't need to be there. We're going to do the mascara in a minute, but the last thing you can do if you want to, you don't have to, but we're going to do it just to see how it looks, is if you want, you can then go back in with your brighter shadow and blend it in and make it pop. Just depends how natural you want this to look. The more you blend, obviously the more natural it's going to look. The more you start adding these brighter colors back in, the more it's going to pop. Now my mascara, and I'm just using the NARS Audacious because that's what I like right now. It changes. There are some things I don't have a favorite of. Mascara, I don't have a favorite. I'm always just grabbing. And this was a free deluxe sample, and I really like it. I might actually, I don't usually buy a mascara because I get so many free samples. So I do a light coating on the bottom lashes first. Then I do the tips of the upper lash. And then I go back in and do the full lash. And then we're going to go back and blend one more time. And at this point, these are my eyes, Berrry, and I'm going to blend one more time with the bigger brush. So this is a softer way of doing a berry look. The more you build up these colors, the more they're going to pop. And hopefully this time I didn't mess up the audio and this actually shows. So if you have comments, suggestions, thoughts, I would love to hear them. I do get to these video requests. I do. It just takes a long time sometimes because I get busy and then I buy something, you know. But anyway, I like to hear them. I really appreciate when people make comments and suggestions like that. So please subscribe on YouTube, and thanks for watching.